All right. So last week we learned about the biz, right? What exactly is product management? How does it differ from projects management and programs management? And we discussed extensively on some of these concepts. We spoke about agile. Uh, we brushed through a bit on what waterfall model is. We spoke about Scrum at length, where I actually discussed some of the practices, rituals. And then I remember also mentioning that one of the biggest or the most important deliverables in Agile is a working software. So while in Agile, we try to build and build and build, and we build every time. One core thing that we have to deliver is that as we build, at the end of every sprint, there's an increment, right? We discussed all this, and then we did a bit on PRD. And while the PRD discussion was a bit, what's the word now? Was a bit different from what some of us have probably actually had experience with, you would understand that I was trying my best to let you understand what is needed ideally at the end of the day and what is not needed, right? So this is what we were able to cover last week, and we also spoke a bit about AI, ML, basically basic terms to help you understand what we're expecting. And to the best of my knowledge, I tried as much as possible to break down concepts as much as possible. And intentionally, this particular week was added to help people that are probably just starting, um, trying to get into the products management. What exactly do we do? How does this work? And all of that. And then also design in such a way that even those that are already in products management that probably have learned a bit of that outside there before can also learn a bit from the experience that I have. So I hope in a way that did last week did justice to that. So this week we'll be going into execution. But before we go into execution, I wanted to kind of like give an high level what execution means for us as product manager. Usually, especially with Nigerian companies, executions often mean delivery, right? They put for companies that have KPIs, actually putting KPI for managers is very hard. But for companies that have KPI, they measure the success of product managers based on how fast they can ship out products, right? Or how well they can work with others and all of that. However, with developed companies, right? Companies in developed countries or at least mature companies. You can work with companies in developed countries and still work as though you're working in Nigeria. But like mature companies, companies that have their names probably on the stock market, companies that are hoping to actually meet that particular grade, companies that are not trying to survive, right? But they're trying to get public, right? Companies at that particular level, best practices. The role of a product manager is not just based on how fast you can ship, right? As a matter of fact, in larger organization, how fast you can ship is not part of it at all, right? It's not even in the core requirement, right? It's not, you are not responsible for delivery at all, right? For example, in my current company, I am not necessarily, I'm 20%, let's just say out of 100%, I'm responsible for, say, for example, just say 10% or 20% of what actually, if a product is delivered on time or not. This rests on a different role that we call engineering managers. Engineering managers also have a role such that they don't also write code, right? But they've written code before, and that's why they call them engineering managers. They've been software developers before. They've grown as a software developer to senior software developer, and over time, maybe they've even become staff products manager, staff software engineer. And then over time, they've led teams, and they now they have enough experience and skills in multiple spaces to be saying, okay, when it comes to engineering, when it comes to developing, when it comes to building up things, right? Um, this ideally is the kind of person you go to. And so we call them engineering managers. So you have those engineering managers. They're the one that determine how, not like determine, but on the eye level of thing, if the company is asking for KPIs, they are the one that the company will ask why X or Y things is taking time, right? So which again contradicts a lot what we are used to in Africa, right? What we are used to in Africa is that please give me a minute. I need to put on the shade. She remote. Okay. Lumi. All right. Thank you. Sorry, this locked me out. All right. So as I mentioned, right, companies in ideally companies in Africa. Thank you. Would have product managers responsible. In most cases, you would see them asking, "Oh, why is it taking time? Is that not your job?" Blah blah blah. But in global companies, that's the job of your um, engineering manager. As a matter of fact, anything that requires development in Africa, as products managers, we do a lot of thinkings for developer. Like, would you have scenarios where you have to tell them, "Oh, hi guys, I think we should go Kafka route instead of." I mean, we'll talk about some of that in details later. But yeah, you help them in designing the architecture sometimes, right? You basically do the whole thinking for them. But in global organization, all you have to do is just tell them the direction we are trying to go with the product, like tell them the vision and they bring it to life technically, right? So that's the idea. So this particular execution session, I will not just be teaching you about delivery. Yes, like I said, is somewhat part of our responsibility. They will ask, so why is it taking time to deliver this? Usually we point them to the engineering manager. But if you're in a company where you don't have engineering manager, all your engineering manager's work is just to shout at engineers, because I've seen that also in African. You have, especially in banks, right? Some of our Nigerian banks, you have engineering manager in the bank, but the engineering manager is just there as in this office of like an HR. When an engineer is acting up, that's when they call them. Their role is not HR, right? Their role is to review codes, think of better ways to improve things, work on system architecture, uh, like ensure that check why some things is taking long, think about security and all of those things that products managers in Africa ideally think of. So yeah, that is number one part of our role in execution. And when I say execution, what I mean is what defines the work we do as product manager, right? What is that thing that you say, oh, he executes well as a product manager, right? So one of it is delivery. The second part, which is the larger part, which in developed countries they believed, or developed organizations, this is solely the responsibility of a product manager. But it's a dicey one as well. The product manager is responsible ideally for adoption. Hi, Innocent. Is it possible to ask the question after?
No, it's not a question. Your screen is not moving, so I we are just saying week
Yeah,
one
I've not.
assessment.
Yes, I've not
Okay,
started actually. I just want to
okay,
give you
okay,
guys background
okay.
before we
Thank
go
you.
into it. All right. Yeah, I've not started actually. Wanted to talk about road mapping today, but before I go into that, I wanted to give you like background into what execution mean for us. Like I said, 6 months is short, small. All right, so I felt the need to give that background before we actually start going into the topic. So, um, like I said, in those developed countries or developed organizations, you are responsible for, especially in a place where you build AI, right? Obviously, you are not going to be training. In fact, most AI product managers themselves know how to use AI to build products, but to build products that becomes AI product that people use to build products is a different ball game entirely. It requires some expertise that some software engineers themselves don't even know. So again, they don't expect you to be responsible for such delivery, but they expect you to be responsible for adoption. And what does adoption mean? That now I've built this product, and this product is now ready to be used. How many people have used it in the last 2 days or 3 days, right? To grow that out. We've spoken about a lot of business metrics. I spoke to you. How do we ensure that we don't have churn, right? That in its core is your responsibility as a product manager. Now, tricky part, you would now want to ask, then what's the role of a PMM, right? A product marketing manager, or a sale, a marketing manager, right? Or a marketer in the company, or a salesperson in the company. If I'm the one responsible for adoption, I'm not saying that you are responsible for selling. Neither am I saying you are responsible for marketing. As a matter of fact, I'm not saying you are responsible for client service. But all I'm saying is that you are responsible for everything in between. So when it comes to strategy to ensure that the work of sales is productive, strategy to ensure that the work of marketing is productive, strategy to ensure that the work of your PMMs are productive, that's where you come in. Do you understand? So again, our execution from us as product manager usually entails three major parts: documentation, delivery, and adoption. With adoption having the highest part of it. We have a term that I use amongst my friends that are product manager. Would often say that what's the use of a product you're building with nobody using it? Any product that a product managers that build a product that nobody use is as good as somebody playing in the sand, right? Building a castle in the sand, right? Because the goal of building a product is to solve a particular user needs. And if a user is not using it, it means that the need or the problem you created the product for in the first place does not exist, which defines the kind of product manager you are. Again, which talks about the gap you have in your research. It means that you do not validate the problem enough. And I mean, any company that wants to sack you is free to sack you. All right. So again, this in itself is what execution means for us. So if anybody were to ask you in the future that as a product manager, what does execution mean to you? And then you have to say these three things. Number one, documentation, ensure that everybody is informed, basically. And we spoke about one of the two of the common ways we document. I spoke about PRDs and I spoke about PVG on Friday. PVG being the product value guide, PRD being the product requirement document. And I told you the difference between the two. So documentation being one of it. The second one is delivery, which we also spoke about a bit on how to manage it when we spoke about Scrum, right? We spoke about Kanban. We spoke about story points. I spoke extensively on when you actually assign a ticket to your developer, that you're not assigning a ticket and putting estimates based on timeline, right? You're putting estimate based on the capacity of the person you're assigning it to, right? We spoke a lot about that. So we have touched a bit on delivery. We'll continue a bit on that today. And then we spoke about adoption as well. Adoption, this is where we actually land today before we now go to the technical part of product management. Like I said, this program is designed not to be too technical, at the same time to give you enough value to actually get started. All right. So what does road mapping means? Road mapping means just like the word. I don't want to use, as you know, I always try to avoid textbook definition. So roadmap basically, as the name implies, that there's a road, which means you're on a journey. So then you need to map points in those journeys so that when you get here, you can say, oh, I have achieved X. And then you get to another point and you say, oh, I have achieved Y. Or you get to another point, you say, oh, I have achieved Z, till you eventually get to the final destination. That's what a roadmap is. So Think of it like you have a road to a journey, and then you have certain points in that particular road that you have milestones, ideally. So you call that entire something like those points. You call everything together a map. Just like when you have an actual map of Nigeria or your map on your phone, right? When you open your map, you see different points in the map. So if you put direction from your house to for those of us that are in Lagos, probably will understand better. If you put from Ikeja to Island, for example, or to Lekki, for example, depending on the path you choose to take, you most likely will get to a minimum of 4 bus stops before you get there. And those bus stops are places where people actually stop, take actions, maybe for example, ease themselves or whatever it is, or just highlight to go to their homes before you now continue the trip, right? Something similar happens with your product, right? Your products, your division of your products would most likely not be 100% done with one swoop at one. I don't know what swoop is. This swoop? Okay, at one swoop. Swoop. How do you pronounce that word? SWOOP. At one go, right? It will probably not be developed at one go. So, which means that ideally you would need to deliver in increments. And that's why we talk about Agile. That every 2 weeks you have something to deliver. So you need to be able to define what will happen in those 2 weeks. Of course, we have quite a number of PRDs that we have, different type of PRD. But the I said PRD of roadmaps. But the most important thing you need to understand is whichever types of roadmap I'm hearing. Once you hear the word roadmap, it just means a timed plan for that product that you are trying to build. A timed plan, something that has timeline for the product that you are building. So you can say, okay, by the end of H1 or by the end of Q1, we're able to achieve this. By the end of Q2, you're able to achieve this. And why is this very important? Because again, your role as product manager, I've told you earlier, that involves three things. Number one, documenting to ensure that all men within or outside organization, I'll give a bit of, I'll talk briefly on it, inside or outside the organization, understands what is coming, right? What you're working on, what is coming, what you've worked on, right? And at the same time, you understand when it's coming, which is delivery, and then adoption, understand how to actually up on it. All right, so this is what roadmap ideally is, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, another thing we'll be discussing today is how do we now know? For example, uh, what can I dismantle? Thinking of what I can dismantle for this example. All right. So I used this as an example the last time, right? Uh, this is my what's the name now? My projector control, right? I use it for controlling my projector, like moving left and right. Hmm? Now, this is the part that is connected to whichever laptop that my presentation slide is. So I just open it. By the way, to dismantle it, it also has a cover. It has the flashy part where I can actually plug it to any device, and then it has they call it noodle or something. Then it has the part itself that I will hold and stand on the podium where I'm actually talking to do next. Yes, and the other, you know how your presentation people do just to look more fancy, right? And do next, 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 next. Now, you see, these are three parts already, and then there's now a bag that comes with it that I can actually put it inside. Now, these are four different components. Imagine that the vision before these four components were actually made, the vision was simply I need to be able to, by the way, inside of this flash that goes into the laptop contains a software that allows this simple device to now act as a simple what's the word, as a simple Bluetooth device, such that, or infrared, I'm not sure the technology that is used, but that allows this your flash, however far your laptop is, to communicate to this guy such that when this guy is pointed to any screen that presentation is, it can actually move the presentation. Now, so that means there's a software, there's a plug to the laptop, there's the major projector control itself, and then there's the cover of the plug, and then there's back. Now, how do I decide which one of all of these 3 or 5 things to do first? Should I work on the software first? Or let me just ask generally, if you were the one that wants to design all of this, let's start with, don't give me reasons, or let's just make it fun. In the chat, if you were to be the one to design these 3 things, I need to know the name it is called. Don't do or something. Let me open Escalidro and give it a name. Escalidro. Okay. All right. So let's assume the projector control or controller, and then the flash connector, cover, the entire package cover, and the software. Right? Sorry, this is flash. Now let's call it this name so that it's easy to type. Each of you think about it. Between these 4 things, which one would you do first if you are the product manager, right? You can type in the comment section. If you're the product manager, you want to work on a feature like that, a product like that, that allows you to control presentation slide. And this feature would require 5 different things: the actual remote control, the bag to put the remote control and the flash and any other things that you need, mini bag. Again, because of dust, because if dust starts entering, or rat or whatever it is, suppose it's a digital device and anything can happen to it. So you need to put it in a bag that is protected, right? So you know the importance of this. And then there's the flash, right, which has an iron part or silver part, which you need to cover so that in case the area is moist or whatever it is, it doesn't get rusted. So every part is as important as the other. But how I need to see how you guys would prioritize it. Everybody must reply. Which one would you do first and which one would you do last? The software or the connector itself or the uh, controller, or so which one first? Like, you can arrange it. Don't just say the software. Arrange everything one after the other. So the way I've arranged it like this, let me add numbers to it to make it fun. In my own, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, and this is 5. So I'm waiting for you guys. No, just like write everything together so that you don't type multiple times. Just type everything together. Aha, something like the way Innocent did, right? So that it's easy to just paste everything. So this is mine, and Innocent is saying that this is what he would do instead. Right? So he would do the software first, and then the project controller, or let's say projector controller, or presentation controller, or I call it projector controller, the flash connector, the cover, and the entire package cover, basically. All right. Or cloth cover. Let's call it cloth cover so that it will not be. Okay. Okay, okay, okay. Let's name it so that when we are when we are picking winner, we know who wins. Innocence. Uh-huh. Innocence. Yes. King Innocence. All right. Okay. Okay. Projector controller, flash connector, cover, and the entire pack. Okay. You and Adiola, let's just King Innocent and Queen Adiola. Now it sounds like both of them are married. Let me just remove it. Innocent and Adiola. All right. Kechi says software, projector controller, flash connector, cover, and the entire. Okay, this is why somebody should just give us something different, right? And Kechi. Okay, who else? Software, projector controller, the flash connector, entire package, software, projector. Basically, all of you are choosing the same thing. Is there nobody that is like very, very very, very, I think. Now, okay, so let's stop here. If I ask you now that why why did you all, I think this is safe to say everybody chose this. Like, why did you all go for this? I think I'll just ask. If you want to talk, you can just raise up your hand. Why did you all go for this? Why not a different arrangement? Why not the projector controller first? Because I have a very solid argument for it, right? If you build the software, what are you going to use to test? Like, it makes no sense because the projector controller is not ready. So how do you ensure that your software is done? If you build the projector controller, at least you can, I mean, you can see the light, right? Where is it? Right? You can see the light. Okay, the light is working. Then it's now time to actually put, yeah, it makes more sense to do the controller first before the software, right? Anybody agrees with me? Because I mean, you can't test the software without the controller. You think about it. Okay, Innocent. All right, let's make this interactive. Hi, Innocent.
Yeah, I think, yeah, good evening, everyone. Yeah, I think from my own end, the reason why I picked from order of prioritization, uh, building the software first,
Mhm.
uh, that's just like the MVP, the minimum viable product. Okay, this is what we have, that that for projection. So for the project controller, I think from the software you can actually control your project. It's just that it will be stressful, because it's the minimum viable product. So it's kind of stressful,
But how,
controlling
how do
it
you
without
test?
remote.
How do you test without remote? That's the question.
And like I said, just like the TV that we had before,
Mhm.
some of them they don't have remotes. You can control it using like the button on there. There will be something. I will create a button in the software that you can actually
A- a-
control. You know,
okay, so let me explain what this does. Maybe that's what. Like,
okay.
the software is supposed to be inside this flash. That's another even green flag. It's supposed to be inside this flash, not on the laptop, because it is when you plug this flash that it actually connects to this. If I don't plug this, I cannot use this controller. So
I will
the
install.
operating system
I
is
will.
inside here.
Yeah,
So which means if you install the software, I
yeah.
don't know how you want to test.
I
Big
will
question.
install Alexa.
Alexa, are you
I'll tell
serious?
Alexa to do this. Alexa, do that.
Alexa, test this. But how does
Alexa.
the Alexa want to test? That's the big question, right? Because Alexa, again, like I said, does not have context. The software you built needs to be inside device A to be able to pair with device B.
With device B. Yeah.
So if you are building the software, there's no place to put it. I mean, I'm not saying you are wrong, but I'm saying I need the stronger argument,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, because even if you build the project controller first, there is no
Mhm.
software to test.
But I
So,
can test the Pro controller. There are buttons. I can test that the
uh,
buttons are pressing. I can test that when I press the button that is supposed to bring the lights that you guys are seeing. I hope it's not blinding you.
yeah,
that is showing the
Eh,
light, at least.
Why why to not interact with? Well, you don't even know what you are doing
No,
with the button. Like,
but this is interacting to you, right? It's showing light to
it's
you.
just shining lights. It's just lights.
A basic interaction. And that's what I'm saying. At least for the device, I can see a basic test. I can test something. With the software, I can't. I'll just keep writing code. And again, nothing to test. It's in my, again, this is in my defense. But maybe somebody else, right? Thank you, by the way, Innocent, for your
Yeah.
suggestion. Maybe somebody else can help. Why did you choose software? Because except you are saying that you just copied Innocent on. Damn. I'll see all of you are copy. So if you would choose in your own defense, which one would it be? Or why did you choose software? Oh, I can see Mr. Dogo is saying hardware before software. But that does not still solve the problem. That does not still solve the problem because you did not tell us which of the hardware. This is Ojoro. Mr. Dogo, you are doing Ojoro. Which of the hardware? Is it this one or this one? Because you have to build one first. Is it the one that connects to the laptop or the controller itself?
Okay. Hello.
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think the hardware I was talking about is the projector controller, because just
Okay.
like you said, so when you the software is meant to probably control uh, some of that device. In some cases, there are some chips that you know that the device has to control. That's some chip that needs to be controlled by the what is it called, by the software as well. So you have to design the controller first. So once you have the controller, then you can now probably control some of the components of the controller with the software. So, but you must also have something physical where you can now control with that you can control with software.
Okay. So based
Okay.
on your analogy, thank you.
Yes.
Based on
Okay.
your analogy, I
Yes.
would say that what you're saying, let's say, Joe, go. All right. We'll say that what you're saying is software comes here. Here, right? When the two hardware is ready, then you do software. Okay. This is Mr. Dogo's argument. I need more arguments. Yes, Adiola.
Okay, so I think there is one thing maybe I mixed up when I was dropping mine, and that is I thought the software is literally to be on the system. I never knew or maybe I didn't hear it. I think I was a bit distracted when you were listing them.
Oh yeah,
I
oh
did
yeah, oh
not know
yeah.
it is meant to be in the hardware. Do you
No,
get?
it
So
would be
even
here.
though
It would be in the connector here.
I
Okay,
was
so let me
thinking,
let me tell you how it works. How many of us have used wireless keyboard before? Wireless keyboard or wireless mouse? You've used, okay. I think Adiola has used it. Her hand is up. So with wireless
no,
keyboard or
my own
wireless
was
mouse,
still
you connect a like my own now. Like you connect one thing that looks like flash. You connect it to your laptop, and then you can move your wireless mouse anywhere. There's no need for wire. The same thing applicable to this guy. It's used the same technology, right? It also has its own that tiny flash that holds the software that connects to this wireless controller. So obviously, if you're building the software, it will live inside this wireless whatever, so that when you plug it into the computer, it will run as its own OS as such, right? So I think now that you understand, right, what would be your direction? Are you going with Dogo versus all?
I'm still even on that my own argument because I'm looking at it from the level of, like you are building a software and then let's say for a software that you're trying to scan a QR code and you need this hardware to scan the QR code. But you have to have the software on your system before you can be able to scan the QR code. Do you get? So that is where it's coming from my own end. In this case, I will obviously have to have the software first. So I'm still
No, no,
standing on my
no. If
point
you go to that
based on
context,
based
if
on
you go to that
what I
context
have
of
in my.
example, the example you gave right now, you have left the context of, because the product you are building determines the process you will go through. If you go to that particular example you gave right now, you have left the premise of the example we are using, right? The example we are using is totally different from scanning a QR code. If it's scanning a QR code, it's a different case entirely, right? You need the QR code to be able to scan it. Different case. But in this case,
I only use it for example. I didn't say that's the product that we are building. I was hoping like the software is going to be on the system, not in the hard drive.
Okay, it's not going to be in the system. It's going to be in the connector.
Okay. And then in that case, we definitely need to have the hardware first.
Which of the hardware? Do you believe that we should have the two hardware or just the connector hardware?
The connector.
So
the
if you
connector
arrange
for
it,
the flash.
if you arrange
The
it, do you want
connector
to have the
first.
connector?
Okay. The projector, the connector first. Right. So we can probably just try and cover it up before we now get to the projector controller.
Okay,
Yes.
then we come to projector controller. Okay, sorry. So this is Adiola.
Hello, Mr. Michael.
Hi.
Wait, the flash is that light, Abby. The flash is the light.
Modification to my earlier submission?
Yes, you can. But let me finish with Adiola. It seems she wants to say something.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm saying the flash is like the light that is coming, Abby. Just
yes, the flash connector. The flash.
No, let's
yes.
do the.
Sorry.
The light.
The projector. Sorry, hold on. The projector controller is the light.
Right? Okay.
So is that what you are doing first?
No. The hardware go. Should be that one.
Oh, the one we'll plug to the computer is the one we'll do first.
That is going to house the software.
Lovely. Then we'll do a cover for it.
We'll finish that one first.
Okay. Then we'll now do the lights, the main controller, and then the software.
And then
we'll now do clothes to cover everything. Okay, that's fine. Yes, Mr. Dogo, you said you want to make some changes to your.
Yeah, I think please.
I think network. Can you guys hear me? Is it my network or is on? Mic check.
I can hear you.
No, we can hear you.
Okay, so it's Mr. Dogo's network. Yeesh.
Hello.
Hi, can you hear us now? Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, I said, can I get more clarification on what you meant by what is it called, flash connector? Because sorry, I was on transit.
Yes, before. Flash connector. I'm sure you've used the wireless mouse before, right? Have you used the wireless mouse before?
Well, yes.
Okay, so when you buy a wireless mouse, it oftentimes comes with this tiny flash inside it.
Okay, just like a dongle.
A dongle, right? That dongle, if you don't connect dongle to your laptop, your mouse would never work, right?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So that dongle is what we call a connector, right? So that connector is the flash connector. It works the same way for projector controller as well.
Now I get it.
Okay.
So I get it. I think the arrangement is going to be, the first thing is to develop the projector controller. Because that is, let's say, then followed by the software.
Software. Yes, we are with you.
Yes.
We are with you.
Okay, followed by the software, then something a message enter my console.
No problem.
Sorry. Okay. Who's this person? Hello.
Yes, we are with you. Network
I'm
is
trying to okay. Now I've seen the presentation. So followed by the software,
okay.
then the flash connector. The
Yes.
flash connector that connects both the hardware and the software together.
Yes.
Then followed by the, let's say, okay, the flash connector cover, then the entire package.
Okay, lovely. Does anybody have any objection? Something different from all of this? Anybody with anything different? Please, the software, the projector controller, the flash connector. I think we already have that. Yes. Yeah, we already have this. Software, projector controller, fraction. Okay, we already have this as well. All right. So, what point was I trying to make with this activity? Joseph, you want to say something different from before?
Yes. Quickly, let me just run through what I have.
Okay.
Projector controller, flash connector, software,
Mhm.
entire package, and flash connector cover.
Okay, that's different. You were very, very strong innovators. Joseph. Okay, so you have projector controller. Which one else?
Yes.
Which is the next one?
Flash connector,
Flash connector,
software,
software.
entire
Yeah.
package cover,
Okay.
then flash connector cover.
Okay. 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 So we even have another one. I never thought about this. All right. So we have now this example gives us an idea to the fact that as a products manager, when you have a vision, right? If all of us have a vision, we'll most likely go about it different ways. And a lot of time, we cannot go to our CEO and say, hey, Mr. CEO, I think this is where we should go. This is what my gut feeling is telling me. So because of that, early product managers devised some things we call prioritization model. That even though we have a lot of items, which I already explained to you, that items on your road for a product or features for a product is like points on your map, right? That you can have as a roadmap. You can't do everything at once. So you have to prioritize. You have to tell yourself, I need to do one first. I am convinced, by the way, if I was to do this at all, the first thing I will do, for me, the first thing I would do is work on the connector, right? Which is what Adjola mentioned. However, I will not work on the cover immediately because, again, the cover is, as you will get to see very soon, is a maybe. Like we can decide, it might not be very important to the users. And I'll explain a bit of how we make that decision very soon. And then maybe after that, I can now think of the software because now I'm done with the connector, but there's nothing in it. It's just empty, right? And the only way I can know if I would improve my connector is by put what is supposed to be inside, which is the software. Then while this connector is done, probably in the meantime, before I start working on the controller itself, I can find a way to use my phone as a controller or get random. I mean, for those of us that do a bit of hardware programming, you can use even wires to like do a test of if it works or it doesn't work, pending the time that I actually have the time to design the entire controller itself, right? Again, this is how I would handle it. However, but it doesn't mean that my idea itself, even though different from all of this, is correct. Now, or is the best, right? Now, how do we decide which is the best? That's what we want to learn today. So we understand now what road mapping is, and we understand why we need it. Because at the end of the day, you can't do everything at once. So you need to be able to plan. Which one should I do first? Which one should I do after it? Which one should I do after that? Right? That's how I call it road mapping, right? So I will jump the whole what is product roadmap because I've done, I believe I've done a bit of justice to it. All right, so the most easiest one that most companies use, especially in Nigeria, is now, next, later. That's the most easiest framework or model that people use. So you break your features into three categories: things that we will do now, things that, oh, if we don't do it now, our users will probably run away from us, right? That's the first step. Things that we believe that is the core functionality for our users. So, like I said, I gave an example of Paystack yesterday, sorry, on Friday, and I mentioned the fact that Paystack for their new app, Zap, prioritize transfer alone for now. Because they realize that the gap they are trying to fill is for people who wants to make regular transaction. I won't be surprised if Paystack also introduced the universal card, where you can basically travel out of Nigeria with your naira and spend in any country you want to go to. Like, just put your naira card and boom, you're able to that it automatically converts it to whatever currency you are spending in. I mean, they have the capacity, they have the structure. That's way they are still focused on one particular feature, which is ensuring that users are able to transfer. As a matter of fact, I think I also went through their website, right? Like play, to show you guys how a payment system like your OPay, your Kuda, would position strictly for best transfer experience for everyday spending. They are saying, guys, we're not competing with your regular guys. We just want to give you guys the best experience for spending. So anywhere you get to, you can spend. Anywhere you are, wherever you are, whatever time you are. If you come out tomorrow and say, oh, you can now use the app for free, you don't need data to actually open the Zap app, I won't be surprised. Why? Because they have decided that this is what we want to do now. Of course, later they could decide that, oh, okay, we have a lot of customers that are requesting for buying airtime and all those things. So they say, okay, the next thing we'll do will be that. Right? But again, we decide based, always remember this, no matter whether you're using now, next, later, or you're using we have others, we have Rice model, we have Moscow, we have a lot of frameworks which I might not be able to cover in this particular class. But regardless of the framework your company is using, one thing should always stand: value to the customer. Which one does the customer which problem, I don't know who sang that problem, they finish. Problem does not finish for the customers. No matter how solid the product is, they finish. If I ask all of us here, aside, if all of us use OP, anyway, that's a different conversation. If all of us here use OP, and I ask you guys, is there a feature that you feel like OP can add? I'm almost 100% sure that somebody will have a feature that they've been thinking about in their mind for a long time that they should have, that they've not had it. So there's always a problem to solve. But how do we prioritize? Usually, the first thing you should understand is that it has to be a user need. It has to be a user need. It has to be something that is painful enough for the user. And for people that use now, next, later, is like the easiest one. This is what we do now. Then after that, we'll start working on this. After that, we'll start working on this. So if you have your roadmap that way, even if your CEO comes and say, hey, when are you doing this? Oh, we plan it for next. We plan it for the next phase. We plan it for the next phase. Okay. When are we doing this? Oh, actually, it's in our roadmap, but it's still later in the year, right? So this is how some people also plan. Again, there's nothing bad in it. Now, next, later. Now you can now decide how long now is. In most cases, people plan it for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, or sometimes a quarter. But the minimum I've seen is a sprint, right? So people plan roadmap in quarters. So you have quarter means Q1. Q1 is January, February, March. For those of us that don't know, Q2 is April, May, June. Q3, July, August, September, and Q4 is October, November, December. So they divide the year into four and then have deliverables every three months. Companies like Apple, right, Samsung, they have a year plan. So every year they release something good, something big for all of you to see. But internally within the company, what they do is they have deliverables quarterly. They have deliverables quarterly. Like every 3 months, they have something that they have to deliver, and they have to start testing. In fact, the next iPhone that will be live that you guys will use, they've started testing it the day they launched. They launched the one that you guys are using now. For those of us that are iPhone people, right? You know, when iPhone do that meeting, it's always in the middle of night for us, Nigeria. How many of us used to watch the iPhone launch, like the movie? I said movie, the live stream. You guys don't watch anything. What do you now watch? Right? Microsoft used to do launch as well. They used to launch their product live. They have about 4 hours or 5 hours of live stream where they tell you what are the new things they built and everything. Please, these are things that you should watch as product manager, because one day you will be standing on that particular podium to actually announce your product, right? So Facebook also does it. So when they are announcing this new iPhone 123, iPhone 354, right? Once they start announcing it, they're already building the next version. In fact, they're already testing the next version. So again, that's how it works. So you have the now, what we do now, what we do next, what we do later. Also, one common format that we use the roadmap is also in a timeline or Gantt. I don't know if all of us have had Gantt charts. What timeline basically means is that usually it looks like this. Let me show you. Do I have it on my? Let me just Gantt charts. Yes. All right. So in case you've seen something like this before, right? This is what a Gantt chart is. So at the top, give me a minute. So at the top of it, Gantt chart, there are months, as you can see, January, February, March. So at a glance, you can see the work that needs to be done and when it will be done, when it will be delivered. As you can see, the days, the weeks, and all of that. So you can see it across board. So you can see status tracking and everything. It will be done between April 1st to June to last month or first week actually to first week of June of July, right? So this is what the Gantt chart roadmap ideally looks like. But a lot of people don't use Gantt chart again because it can get very messy with time, very very messy, especially when you are building complex products. It can get very extremely messy, too messy actually. I don't like using it. Too messy. It can get very very messy with little time. All right, so that's what we call timeline and Gantt. And then you have outcome-based roadmap. Outcome-based roadmap is also similar to this, but a bit different. Let me show you if I can find a picture of it. Aha. This is combining outcome-based versus and now, yeah. Anyway, one thing that you would always understand from outcome-based roadmap is that they always have goals and ways to measure them. For example, this is an example of an outcome-based roadmap, right? So you have Q2, Q3. I already explained what Qs are, right? Q1, January, February, March. Q2, April, May, June. Q3, July, August, September. And Q4, October, November, December. So I explained. So you're saying that, as you can see, this roadmap is not giving plenty user story, acceptance criteria. It's not constant. Just tell us the goal, right? And usually it's used at the top. It's used by top management in companies. For example, I'll tell you the roadmap I use currently in my own team. However, from the management to us, they use outcome based. So the management will just tell us, hey, these are the goals that we have for Q1, right? So we will now look at those goals and break down what we need to do to ensure that the company can actually meet that goal at the end of the day. So this is how we write the roadmap. Say, okay, what is the name? What's the goal? And what are the certain features that should be there? And these features are not probably necessary because there are some goal-based roadmap that you will not find features. You only find goals, and metrics. And why is this very important? When you have roadmap, goal-based roadmap, the idea is that it is value-oriented. So we tell you that this is what we want to achieve, and then we tell you how we plan to measure that achievement. So we say, okay, we want to increase customer engagement by 25%. What does that mean? That, oh, we have our customers, it could be something like this. We have 1,000 people that visit my profile every day. However, only 10 of them likes the post. So what I want to do for the next 2 months is that I want to increase the engagement by 25%, which means out of every 1,000, I want to have at least 250 people liking the post, right? So that's a goal. Now, under that goal, the social media team would pick their own and say, oh, okay, what we'll do is, or let's say the content creation team will pick their own and say, we need to start doing engaging content, right? Content that will be provoking the customers to like and comment, right? And then let's say the graphics team or branding team would say, oh, because when people come to our profile, they feel like we're a joke. So we need to change our logo. We need to do this. You see, our different team will now have to carve out their own roadmap based on the outcome or the value or the goal that the initial outcome-based roadmap that the company has set has actually defined, right? Usually, that's the case. And that's where they use outcome-based roadmap, usually at the top of the chain by management, CEOs, and all of that. All right. Uh, Before we go deep into the prioritization framework, I've told you we'll learn about it. I mean, some of them at least. I want us to talk about OKRs. OKR is one of the key things. I say this a lot to my students that in product, they oftentimes don't have KPIs for us. Developers, you would hear them say, oh, we need you to at least have 1 commit per day or 3 commits per day. You must merge this. You must have reviewed 15 codes. But for us, it's usually hard. So what oftentimes they measure us based on is how our OKRs ideally connect to the vision of the company. So what are OKRs? OKR is a short form for objective and key results. So basically, what's your objective? I gave you an example right now. The objective is, okay, this is another example. The objective is become the #1 spending tracker for Lagos freelancer. Okay, as a Lagos freelancer, there was one of my students that wanted to build something like this. As a Lagos freelancer, when money comes into my account, like when that, for some of us, I know we earn in dollars, some of us earn in naira, but when that 5 million, for example, enter my account every month, bam, I know some of us are rich people, enter my account, bam, before I do the money has remained 100 naira, and now I am collecting money from loan apps. So what I want to do is I want to connect my spending account to this tracking account so that instead of me just spending anyhow, every time I transfer, the tracker picks it up and say, hey, you have spent this on grocery. You already met your criteria for grocery this month. Go and drink Gary, right? Or something like that. Now, but they are saying that the objective is they want to become the #1 of all the spending trackers that have been. So how do they ensure, or how do they even realize that, oh, we are now finally #1? You now put it here that the first key result has to be that we have 10,000 monthly average user. So what that means is that at the end of the year, when we look at the average of our users monthly, we'll be able to see that we have minimum of 10,000, right? Averagely, right? What that means is that probably no other spending tracker has actually met that 10,000 mark. So they are saying that to be the #1, we have to meet the 10,000, right? With 60% D30 retention. Basically, what it means is that these 10,000s are not just coming and running away, they are staying, right? Another key result for them is NRR score is above 105. NPS score, NPS means Net Promoter Score. That the ability for me as a user to actually promote your product, for example. Guys, give me a minute. Work. Okay. All right. So I'm saying that okay, my net promoter score of 40 plus. That out of these people, I need out of 100% of people that are with me, I want at least 40 of them to be willing to recommend me to their friends, and that's what net promoter score is, right? And then the net uh, recurring revenue, that's NRR, net recurring revenue, like the amount that we get every like at every point in time should be 1/5, like 1/5% at every time. That's good news. So they have said that these are the key results they need to meet, they need to have to be able to become the objective number one spending tracker of Lagos. So as a product manager, you have that key, your company has that key objective. Every company has an objective, what they want to become, right? What they want to do in the year. Like my company, we have it quarterly, right? No, sorry, every year, and it's usually tied to our bonus. By the way, it's very tied to our bonus. The company will say, okay, if you are able to meet this amount of money, you get 3x your salary. If you're able to do this, you get 4x your salary, 5x your salary. That's how they talk about it. So again, you have that bonus, right? Tied to again the key object, the objective. So what your role as a product manager is to find certain outcomes that would ensure that you actually meet that key result. So when we do planning, the CEO comes and say, "Hey, I want to become the number one spending hub in Nigeria." Of course, the CEO does not know how he will get there. That's why he employs you. So you go into research and then start to say, "Okay, Omo, Baba, the number one person, they are making an average of 1 million. We were just making 10,000 naira per month. Okay, so how do we get there?" Then you start drafting it out. Those drafts that you do is called your key results, right? Then those key results is connected to being the number one. So such that if the number one currently is doing 1 million, you are planning for, and you're not just looking at that 1 million, you are thinking, how did number one get to that 1 million? Okay, number one initially 12 months ago was doing 500, but now they are doing 1 million. So you can expect times two of that in the next 1 year. So you're saying, okay, our goal definitely will be 3 million, even though we are 10,000 today. So how do we ensure that we move from 10,000 to 3 million? Then strategy starts. What are the pain points of their customers? Who is now your competitor, right? What are the pain points of other customers? And then you start writing it down. What strengths do we have? What can we do to ensure that we can actually meet that pain point, right? It could be price. That's the funny part. It could be pricing point. It could be that these people are just too expensive. I'll give you a very solid example. The reason why fintech won in Nigeria was because of two major giants, or should I say three major giants: Wallet Africa, Kuda, and OP when they came. What did they do differently? They said, "Hey guys, we're going to give you free transaction," which is something that no bank in Nigeria has ever done before. Every bank charge you in fact, sometimes they charge you, you don't know what they are charging you for. But this bank says, "See, we will not even charge you anything at all. Put your money, transfer, transact everything for free." As a matter of fact, the more you transact will give you points. And this point, I remember Kuda was doing that. This point eventually becomes something that we can give you as an overdraft. So that when you are even done, let's assume you have 10,000 in your account, and then you have spent your 10,000, you just want to buy Gary or Kuli. If you have up to 1,000 points, then you can actually buy 1,000, you can withdraw 1,000 for free. The next time you put money, we'll remove you from that money. This is something that banks had never done. So Kuda was not doing anything special, by the way. They were not doing anything different than what banks were doing. Of course, there were other things they did better, like onboarding. It was easier to open accounts and other things. But one of the main things, right, that was their selling point was that people wanted to transact for free. And they took a lot, and I mean a lot, from GT Bank. A lot. GT Bank, Access, many of them struggled with the student community. Now, why am I saying this? Because sometimes as product managers, we feel that the next thing we need to build is features. We need to add a new feature that will bring money, especially when we have bonus. I don't know, maybe you guys do bonus. You've ever been in a company where there's bonus, right? Say, when you hear bonus, like 4x, like I'll just collect 4 months salary in just 1 month, and just say take. And that was huge bonus. I say, I don't do. I say we have to make it. We have to meet it. And you just feel like, let me just add all the features in this word. Sometimes it's not feature. Sometimes it's pricing strategy. Sometimes it's speaking more with the customer. Sometimes the customers are really happy about your products, but they don't know that they should tell others. And you're just talking to them, and you're like, oh, okay. And they're like, one of my friends, and they're just sharing testimony with you. I used to struggle with this. Some of my friends that were using it before, they're still struggling with it. I say, okay, do you want to tell them about us? I say, really? Should I tell them? I say, okay, if you tell them, we're going to give you 10% of every transaction they do. Right? You wouldn't know this if you didn't speak with the customer. So again, there are quite a number of strategies that can be counted as key results that can be connected eventually to the main objective of the company. So again, this is how OKRs work. In case you've ever heard about OKR and all of that. Now to prioritization, where we started. That now we have all of this, right? The toggle, the kidney, the package, the cover, and everything. How do I know which one to prioritize first? One of the most common prioritization model, but very complex, is, before I talk about rice, is that thing that you guys did right now. Intuition. Knowing that this makes more sense, right, to do. However, intuition is the best killer of an innovator. The fact that you feel like you know what next to do, except you are Steve Jobs, right? Steve Jobs sort of always know what is next. You always know what is next. By the way, I saw a memo which I believe that you guys should. I don't know who you guys are following on Instagram. Follow guys that are companies that talk about innovations. I saw a memo of iPhone 17 as of 1998. 1998. And the date it should be released. I can't. Some people are just out of this world. But yes, Steve Jobs was one of them. He could see into the future. He could see what is going to come. He could see clearly, right? He wasn't the regular guy. If I should say so myself. Right. But if you are not like him, then you should plan better. Right? Don't just use your intuition, because sometimes your intuitions will fail. I'll give you an example. One of my students at the Catalyst program we had earlier this year, he came and made a very bold statement. He said, how many of us know this app that they use to learn language, Duolingo or something? He said, Duolingo is not solving the right problem. It's not solving the problem for people. People are really not learning language. They are basically just learning words, certain scattered words. And why is that? Because you are making them play a game of words. And the way the human brain works is that I will want to win. So I cram that particular word, and eventually it doesn't sink in me. So instead of that, he wanted to introduce a different app. I mean, there was AI. You guys will also learn how to build with AI very soon. So I gave him access. I remember even subscribing one of the AI platform for him. That, I want to see what you do. But I said, before that, even though you have the subscription, I want you to actually do a bit of research. Do you know people that use it? Say, yeah, a couple of my friends use it. Sorry, was all entered my eyes. And then he said, yes, a couple of my friends do it. And he was so confident. And I said, do you think you can get like 30 people? He said, 30 is small. We have a group where we learn. So I'm trying to learn Chinese. I don't know it for the past 1 year. He was honestly angry. Like, he was genuinely angry that he could not learn for over a year. Then I told him, send a survey. And then he sent survey. And 90% of those that he sent the survey to told him that they are learning fine. There was even one that had the audacity to reply the survey in Chinese. And then he came back and said, I said, what did you find? And he said, all the people that he gave, they feel differently. What's this? Now, all the people that he gave feel differently about it. They don't feel the same way. They feel like the app is good, useful, is good. Like they learn faster with games. And when he was telling me, he felt so disappointed. And I said, okay, why? Do you still want to continue? He said, like, okay. He was thinking that those guys would be the first set of users for him. But now that all of them feel like Duolingo is doing it for them, he doesn't feel like he should build it anymore. But he still feels like the problem exists. I said, okay, let's build it. And then he builds it. He builds a small MVP. Of course, he wrote a lot of features. I said, no, just build something small. And then he built something small, finished it in about 2 days, and then gave it to them to test. And oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. The feedback he came back to me, said he's thinking of another product. Why? Because he was so invested in the solution that he missed out on validating if the problem was just his problem or a general problem. Apparently, the problem he was trying to solve was not painful enough. And it was not the only one. I've had series of trainees, mentees that have been in that particular shoe where they feel like this is the next thing we should be doing. But it's either the solution is not matured enough for the time, or the solution is not even a problem that the customer wants fixed right now. I'll give you an example, right? Let me give an example. Let's assume I know Innocent likes food. So let's assume Innocent have not eaten for a week. He has been fasting, right? Innocent is on the mountain. He has been fasting and doing God. He has been waiting on the Lord. And then he came and it was time for him to break, right? And then he came to your restaurant and he said, okay, do you guys have pounded yam? I said, yeah, we have pounded yam. And I said, okay, pounded yam and words, gusi, oh yeah, I put bokoto, he has described the food for you. While he was describing it, his mouth was watery. And then all of a sudden, you guys came, brought the first plate, and what was there was chin chin. So oh, it's just an appetizer to keep you okay. And then 30 minutes later, you guys brought another bowl, and it was just peanuts. And then a few minutes later, you guys brought water, just in case it's thirsty. Sorry, Innocent, what will you do? Will you stay or you leave? Just a bit off. Can you hear me, Innocent? I think he's muted. I want to believe that he would not stay, right? He will probably leave. Maybe anybody here, if you feel like maybe you stay and just keep wondering when the food will come. Anybody, maybe chats in the chat, but can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we'll not stay.
Yeah, so you won't stay. And why won't you stay? What did they give? What they gave you, was it food? Yes, it was food. But was it what you needed at that particular time? No. If they had given you the food first, and after you were done eating, they now brought all those things, embellishments, and even gave you drink and say, hey, do you mind our specialized apple juice? We're giving it for free. I'm sure you will be excited to take it. But the reason why you would not take it initially is because what you needed at that time was good food. It's the same thing with product. So a problem, if not painful enough, you would try and push it out. Your customer will reject it. And then 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the line, that same product will be the reason why they will go to your competitors. And that's the balance of product. So you need to understand what exactly is my customer looking for. So one of the ways we prioritize is the RISE model. RISE is a simple calculation. It says reach, impact, confidence, and effort. It's an acronym. Of course, you don't need to know the formula forever and ever. You don't need to cram it and over time. Depending on your company, they might have even done an automation that automatically does this for you. But ideally, what it says, if you think about it, it might be easy to do. How many users will this affect per quarter? Like, how many users will it affect if I decide to do sign up? In fact, this is the first question you ask. How many users? Let's assume your app does not have login and sign up before. It's just everybody can use it. And one day you just say that, okay, no, we should start having the number, the name, and email of people that are signing up on our platform. So you want to hard sign up. Then you have to ask yourself, how many people in dealing with this particular feature that I'm adding, how many of them would it affect? if I enforce sign up, how many of them would it truly affect, right? How significantly will it affect each user? You see, this is basically asking how painful will it be, and then how confident are you with your estimate. So confidence is like the estimate you've made here. How confident are you that the numbers are true? And then how many person per month will this take, right? To get it done, how many people will it require to get it done? So usually that's how we calculate. So you'd say the reach multiplied by impact multiplied by confidence divided by effort. All right, that's the calculation, and that's why I call it rice model. It's an acronym. So usually you calculate this. For example, in this example, how many will it reach? 300 multiplied by 2, which is how significant will this affect? Usually graded between 0.2 to 3. So if it's 2, it actually mean that it would significantly affect a lot of users. So you say times 2 multiplied by C, which is how confident are you, right? I can say confidence is between 100%, 80%, 60%. This is saying 60%. So you have multiplied by 60% divided by what exactly is the effort. Effort is also calculated between 1 to 5. So effort of 4, right? How much people would it require to get it done or something? Depending on what effort means for your company, it could mean the number of people, it could mean the time, it could mean that you divide it by that, and that is what you get, right? Another one that we use is cost of delay over job duration. So how long, what will it affect? What will happen if we delay this? Divided by how long it will be. For example, if you say um if you have a feature or a fix or a bug fix that you need to prioritize and say, okay, we need to fix this problem. Customers are complaining that sometimes they are unable to log in. We need to fix it once and for all. But your CEO says, oh, that's not a priority for us. And then you look at your number, right? Between the time that that problem started and now, you've lost probably 20 million, right? And then every day, when you divide it by the number of days, you realize that, okay, you are losing like, say, 1 million per day. Then if you want to prioritize it, you say, okay, for every day we wait, sir, we are actually losing 1 million. So that way your boss can know the impact really of what you're actually prioritizing. So you prioritize all the tasks and then see which one is actually losing you more money than the other. And the one that is losing more money, obviously, is the one that you prioritize more, right? And then you have Moscow. Moscow is very simple. It's something I do a lot. I love to use it. I told you I was going to tell you. But I don't use it for prioritization, like final prioritization. I use it for the first prioritization. So when I have a list of items, I first break them down into this. What does Moscow says? He said break them down into must have, should have, could have, and won't have. Must have is things that if I don't put it in my roadmap, Kasala will bust. Things that must be in the roadmap. Then should have are things that okay, it's critical, but it's not a must. It's very critical, but it's not a must. And could have is if we don't have it, the world will not end, right? And won't have is Baba, even though everybody is shouting about it, it doesn't align with our direction, right? Even though the whole world seems to have it in their app, it doesn't align with our direction. We won't add it to our app, right? That is won't have. I'll give you an example of that. Banks like Sparkle have a budgeting app within their system. So where you can decide that out of all my amounts, this is the amount I want to spend to pay airtime. This is the amount I want. So when you're buying beyond that airtime, it will show an error to tell you no, you can't buy this airtime. Of course, any app can actually put that in their features, right? And I don't think there's any compliance rule that stops them from doing it, but they can put it in their app. But why are they not putting it in their app? Because they've decided that that is not the position they are trying to go, right? So again, won't have is like we will not do this at all, right? And then you have could have. Could have is okay. You can do it. Can decide not to do it. All right. So I want to quickly explain tax topology so that you understand. I told some of you when you submitted your PRDs, they didn't include user stories. Some of you included acceptance criteria alone without user story. I've dropped comments to help you. and I expect that you will actually re-upload an updated one. For every one of you that delivered their PRD, I actually dropped a comment for you to improve it. But I wanted to show you a simple step, but maybe tomorrow, because today we did a lot of things. Maybe tomorrow I will go through it. So, but before that, I wanted to explain what are the kind of tasks that you might assign to your developers. The first one is feature work. We call them stories, right? Things that are features, ideally, that you want to assign to your developer. There are two types. There's the technical story and the normal user story. User story is your product ideas. I gave you an example yesterday, so I don't want to go back into it. Go into the class to learn again about it. User story is you telling us the pain point of the user from a product's perspective. Um, Technical story is more of a technical story. For example, it can sound something like, oh, we need to upgrade our Java version, right? We need to upgrade our dependencies, right? They are technical tasks that need to be done to ensure that the product is actually doing well, basically. So you have technical user stories and user story itself, technical stories and user story. So these are feature work. So you can break it down into those two. And then you have tech depths. Tech depths are uh aha. Remember when I came here the other time? Let me go back to my where is it? Escalator. Remember when I said, let me look for this person? Yes, for example, this person, right? Let's assume we have built this particular thing and we are done. We built this flash connector without its cover. That is a depth. We know when we're building it, the cover is supposed to be there. But because of other priorities, we decided to put it later, right? That is what we call tech depth. So there's something that you're supposed to do, but it's not as much of a priority. So you postpone it to later, right? When you have more bandwidth to take it. We call it tech depth. And usually we always plan for it as well so that we don't eventually forget it. It's easy to forget, especially when you are changing your teams or doing a team swap, which means some of these team member will go and join another team just to understand what they are doing there, and then you swap everybody. By the time they come back, they've forgotten context. So it's very important to put it in your plan so that you don't forget. When you are planning and you say, okay, this is not a priority, okay, you plan it, you put it in your backlog so that you remember that this thing we plan to do it later. Also, we also have something we call bug fixes, which is divided into two parts as well. We have the regular bug and the incident. Now, what are incidents? Oof. So the regular bug is this way. Regular bug is you as a user, you are testing the app in your testing environment. What's your testing environment? You are testing the app in your okay, so before the app gets to you, for example, that WhatsApp app that you're using, before you start using it as a regular user, the developers in-house would have used it before, right? The product manager would have tested it before it's actually pushed out. Now, if a problem is found while you are testing it, it's called a bug. If the problem is found by the user, it's called an incident. But the same thing a bug, right? As long as the user is the one finding it, it's called a bug. But when the peculiarity is that the user is actually in production, it is called an incident. So usually bugs can take time. You can decide that, oh, we're not fixing this bug yet. Let's first do this. Maybe it will fix it, right? You can play around bugs. But incidents, when it happens, you have to prioritize it. We'll still talk about it this week as well, when we are discussing incidents, RCAs, and all of that, and release management. What are these things? Oh, okay, I know why now. All right. So this ideally is sorry. So this is the difference between all of them. And then we have Spike and research. Spike is a ticket you create for your developer to research. They are not writing any code. They are not making any change. They are not building any feature. They're just researching. So you create it. Maybe you have done your product research and you realize that, oh, this feature is something we can do. Our competitors are lacking it, or they have it, but there's a opportunity for us in it. but you don't know if it's technically visible, right? And you don't just want to assign the task to the team and then eventually they say, oh, it's not possible, blah, blah, blah. So you create a spike or sort of a ticket, we call it spike, that allows your developers or whoever person to actually learn if this is going to be possible or not, right? So that's the idea. This is where we'll stop today. Is there any questions so far before we round up? All right. So if there's no question, yes, Adiola.